Here we are, we're back again. Post-election spectacular. Surprised? Well, I wasn't. I'll tell you why I wasn't surprised. Because what we've seen over the last 6 weeks has been fascinating. We've seen a campaign based on lies, innuendo, falsehoods, and it's worked. I think people were ready for change, but they just weren't ready to take that next step. They thought their world would crash around them. The Australian Labor Party had a very mild reformist agenda. They proposed two major changes. One was to remove negative gearing for old properties. Anybody who invested in new properties could still negative gear, and anybody who had negatively geared properties would continue to get those benefits. Secondly, they wanted to reduce franking credits. Now, franking credits, a very simple way to think of franking credits. A franking credit is basically a gift the government gives you from the public taxpayer, from the tax pool for owning shares. John Howard's legacy. A gift for owning shares. But the Labor Party said that if you're a pensioner and you had shares, you could still get your franking credits. But if you weren't a pensioner, well, then you'd lose your franking credits. This would save around $158 billion over the next 10 years, which they would then invest in public education and public health. Okay? Mildly reformist agenda. End of the world. End of the world as far as Australia is concerned, as far as the 1% of Australians who own the means production, distribution and exchange, and the 8% of Australians who negatively gear property, and about the 3 or 4% that get franking credits, huge amounts, not a few $100. It was the end of the known world, the end of the universe. Property prices were going to drop, rents were going to increase, God was going to be angry. You name it, it was going to happen. Now, in certain places around the country, we were told the Labor Party was going to introduce death duties. It was going to take away people's pensions. It was going to bankrupt self-funded retirees. It just went on and on and on. And a lot of elderly people, or people who are semi-retired or retired, believed the garbage. Why? Now, I'd like to thank my fellow Australians. I'd like to thank them for many things. I'd like to thank them for ensuring that I can actually negative gear 10 properties. Thank you. I would like to thank them for me continuing to receive franking credits for my $2 million in my superannuation fund. You believe me, I've got $2 million in my superannuation fund. Well, you're a nut. And I'd like to thank you for keeping those uppity people on social security benefits, those 30% of Australians, in their place. I would like to thank you for introducing the basic card for everybody on the social security benefit in the next 3 to 4 years. I would like to thank you to ensure those uppity kids in public schools don't get the same advantages as those nice kids in private schools who we bankroll through the public taxpayer. 80% of federal funding goes to private schools and 20% to public schools. I'd like to thank you for strangling the National Disability Insurance Scheme, those 240,000 recipients not receiving the benefits they desire. I would like to thank you for ensuring that New Start allowances continue to be a pittance. I'd like to thank you for guaranteeing that we will never have a treaty with Indigenous Australians and that we keep them down on the farm. You have done so many wonderful things for me. I am just so happy. Unfortunately, I'm not the 1% of Australians or the 8% who negatively gear properties. So there is a lot to be thankful for. But if you are a wage earner, if you're part of the working poor, if you're part of the 30% of Australians who relies on social security benefits to survive, you've got a problem. Because Mr. Morrison has an addition problem. He's going to give tax cuts to ensure that people earning $40,000 a year pay the same rate as people earning $200,000 a year. He's going to ensure that corporations continue to pay voluntary taxation, that mineral resources companies pay minimal royalties. He's going to ensure that negative gearing continues. He's going to ensure that franking credits continue. He's going to ensure... So where's the money coming from? Where's it coming from? Well, I know where it's coming from. It's going to come from you. People who are watching this YouTube presentation. You're going to squeeze people on social security benefits. You're going to ensure that people don't get onto social security benefits. You're going to get rid of all those overtime payments, not just the hospitality workers, but many of the workers in this country. You're going to continue to criminalise the trade union movement. You're going to continue to humiliate, people on social security benefits. They call them losers and bludgers and welfare cheats and people who are living on the dole or welfare. You're going to continue to do all that. So where do you think the money's coming from? It's going to come from the working poor. People who work hard but don't make enough money to pay their bills. It's going to come from casualised staff which is paid cash in hand. It's going to come from a decrease in wages. I mean, we've got a negative wage growth, almost negative wage growth in this country. Now, these people are greedy. They're exceptionally greedy, but they've made one fundamental error. Over 60% of the Australian economy depends on local consumption. In plain English, that means buying and selling, providing goods and services. That's what it means. It doesn't come from mining. That employs less than 6% of the population. It doesn't come from people on the farms. That employs less than 5% of the population. That's where jobs come from. So we've got a major dilemma in 21st century world, in 21st century Australia. We don't need people to work in order for the community to prosper and survive. But unfortunately in this country and around the world, the way a person lives is tied in with wages for the majority of people. It's tied in with how much money you're able to earn by selling your labour on the marketplace. With mechanisation, the IT revolution, we don't need people. So it doesn't matter how many bodgy job creation schemes you make, you will not be able to soak up employment. And Queenslanders, who seem to have loved the coalition government, forgot that they are the most decentralised state in the country. Just as many Queenslanders live in regional Australia than they live in Brisbane. Jobs are scarce. I can understand why people are scared. Jobs are scarce. Mechanisation means that a mine like ADANI will need less than 1,000 people to run it. There are no jobs. The jobs are in the tourist industry. Climate change is a major issue in Queensland. Drought is an issue as far as the agricultural sector is concerned. The death of the Barrier Reef is the death of the tourist industry. So they've got a lot of problems. But if they think that those hacks from the National Party, who they were all re-elected, the champions of agribusiness, the champions of the corporate business world that have bankrupted thousands of farmers over the last 30 to 40 years, that have destroyed the cooperatives, that have destroyed the mutual associations in the countryside, that have destroyed regional towns, if they think those people have got any solutions for them, they've got no solutions for you. So, I can be negative, but I'm not. I think this is a time of unparalleled opportunity. Look, I'm in the sunshine. It's nearly the end of autumn. Winter's round the corner. We have seen, with the election of a Morrison coalition government, a crack appear in the wall. A little crack. I can see sunshine coming through that crack. And as the Secretary for Public Interest before Corporate Interest, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Now, I'm not stupid enough to think that we could win political power, that we could even be elected to Parliament as an organisation. But I do believe the time is right for a broad-based, inclusive, egalitarian, community-based political party which will steal people from who are attracted to the divided nation crowd and the yellow crowd and all those other fringe, racist, marginal groups. I believe that these people are looking for change. They've been left behind. They know they've been left behind. And public interest before corporate interest can
attract people like that and shift the debate. Because the greatest tragedy about the election of the Morrison government isn't the practical consequences, is the fact that no opposition will now pursue a reformist agenda in the next decade. And that leaves the door wide open for groups like public interest before corporate interests. But we do have a problem. We have about 450 members, 394 on the electoral roll. We need 550 members on the electoral rolls to be registered as a federal political party. There will be by-elections in the next few years. We don't have to wait till the next federal election. If we're registered as a federal political party, we have the opportunity to push the debate towards decreasing inequality, to push the debate for a more humanitarian approach to asylum seekers, a humanitarian approach to poor people, but people who are exploited. Isn't it extraordinary? 25 million people living on a continent. We had the opportunity for some mild reforms, got frightened at the barrier. Bill Shorten, retires, and we're left with this mess. Ultimately, if we plant that little public interest before corporate interest seed in that crack in the wall, we can make a difference. Those of you who've travelled, who've seen the temples or pictures of the temples in South America and Angkor Wat in Kampuchea will notice how those little seeds in the concrete and the stone split the stone. Taste that seed. Watch what happened at Angkor Wat and the temples. That tree, that seed grew into a tree and split the wall. We can split that wall of indifference. We, together, can change the direction this country is taking. It's not a matter of winning political power. It's a matter of influencing debate. It's a matter of winning over those people who are not, rusted on Green supporters, which is a terrible analogy, or rusted on ALP supporters, or rusted on Liberal Party supporters, or rusted on National Party supporters. It's about attracting those people who are disengaged, disillusioned, those that have been attracted to these exclusive authoritarian political parties because they think they offer some type of solution. We need that broad-based political movement and political party. And public interest before corporate interest can provide that, but we are nothing without you. If you're angry, if you're disillusioned, if you don't know what to do, if you decided to break the TV set, cut the internet cable, well, don't do it. Don't do it. You can join public interest before corporate interest. You can do it in a number of ways. You can download the application from PIBCI, PIBCI.net. You can give me a call. That's right. I may not answer the phone, but please leave a message on 0439 395 489. You can email us at info@pibci.net. Go to the website, pibci.net. Many ways to join. And I don't know why you're watching this YouTube, but just in case you're not internet savvy, you can always write to us at Post Office Box 20, Parkville 3052, and I can send you one application form or 5,000. I prefer to send a few, not 5,000. But seriously, this is a moment of profound change and profound opportunity. This government is on its last legs before it started. What we need is people with vision and energy who are willing to change the debate that we are involved in today. The debate has been pushed right into the right, into the far right. So we have people with authoritarian ideas, racist ideas, exclusive ideas now dominate the political debate, and they think they have won the battle. The difference between those that voted for the ALP and its supporters and those that voted for Liberal National Party was 120,000 people. That's all. The government has a slim majority. The Senate, it doesn't have a majority in the Senate, so it hasn't got carte blanche to do what it likes. So creating a new political voice in this intellectual wilderness is one way that we can change the direction. Now, I'm not saying to you, join PIBCI and we'll be elected. Bullshit. I'm not saying to you, join PIBCI and you're going to have a wonderful life. No. I'm saying to you, join PIPSI. We have the potential to grow that seed in the crack of that wall into a large tree, to bring the wall tumbling down and create a new society which is based on inclusion, which includes everybody irrespective of their race, their colour, their gender, their sexual orientation, which shares wealth, which looks at different ways of actually ensuring that as we no longer need people to work in order for a community to survive, that we share income, like things like a basic living wage, and we can actually fund that basic living wage not through a bloody revolution, but by introducing a few new taxes, like a 1% turnover tax, ka-ching, $150 billion a year. Remove GST exemptions for companies with a turnover of more than $2 million, $2 million, ka-ching, $25 billion per year. 1% stock market tax, ka-ching. Within a year, you've got 200 extra billion dollars, which you can fund a basic living wage for everybody and ensure that everybody has a good quality of life. Now, the Romans had the same problem. Nothing is new in political life or cultural, social. When the Romans expanded their empire, they found they no longer needed the plebeians to work. The patricians were in charge, but they needed the plebeians to work because all the slaves that they captured provided cheap labour for the Roman ruling classes. But the working class got uppity and started to revolt. So they resolved the problem by subsidised food, subsidised housing, and 240 holidays a year, and free entry to the Colosseum to be Christians torn apart by the lions. So I'm not saying we go back to that, but what I'm saying is we have a chance to change the debate in a fundamental way and actually find 21st century solutions for 21st century problems in a world that must change for the human race to survive. Thank you. Have a look next week. Who knows what we're talking about next week? I don't. You don't. God doesn't know. And neither does Kelly, who's taking the photographs.